So maybe I'll just quickly start. So the Regenerate event was an idea that we had to really connect people to speakers and to an experience that's in person. And a lot of things that we talk about, Dr. Anthony Chafee talks about, um, it can sometimes be a little bit isolating. It can be a little bit abstract and removed when we're just kind of maybe listening to podcasts or following videos on YouTube and implementing things in our lives that are quite radical and compared to what most other people are doing. And this can be challenging if you're doing something so different to everyone else. And everyone might have had conversations with family members who don't really understand or get the purpose of maybe adopting more extreme, in inverted commas, lifestyle measures like only eating meat or like wearing funny orange glasses whenever the sun sets and the artificial lights get turned on. So one of the reasons was to provide an opportunity to meet other like-minded people and really connect with other people in a way that is beneficial and feeling like you're not the only one. So I hope that is a big reason why, or a benefit that people can get. And that was definitely something that we found after our Albury event, which was the first Regenerate event in August last year, was that people found that simply meeting other people who were also on this health journey was incredibly beneficial and helpful. So that's a big facet of it. And along those lines, we in August and in April in Melbourne, we really got a big 2 hour break so that you can meet other people and really connect and form some in-person connection to kind of help you through and support you through the journey. So please, anyone, comment any questions that you have so that we can answer them throughout this Q&A. Simon, maybe give people an overview of what they can expect on the day.
Yeah, sure. Just to expand on what Max was saying before in describing why we created Regenerate, there is a massive problem that some are more aware of than others, and that is the rise of lifestyle disease and many diseases and issues like autoimmune conditions, hormonal issues, mental health problems, skin issues that have become commonplace now, and people just think they're either part of getting older or they're just part of living. But these things really weren't present before the rise of modern industrialized food systems, life inside, life separated from nature. Before this new modern evolution, which has brought so many good things, these modern health issues weren't as present and weren't such an issue. Dr. Max and I and others, we all have a version of what we think is a solution, and the essence of the solution is getting back to nature and living the way humans are designed to live, we think. And that extends to ancestral diets, carnivore, low carb, meat-based diets. That extends to circadian health, rising with the sun, minimizing artificial light when the sun goes down. And it also extends to how we produce our food. And regenerative farming really provides a solution for producing decentralized, highly nutritious quality food that also improves the commons, as Jake Walke would say. So it improves our common resources of water and land and soil. Max and I found that we would love to go to events where top doctors, top health-focused doctors, holistic doctors came together with incredible regenerative farmers. But we couldn't find events that really did those things while also providing an engaging, relaxed and entertaining environment a lot of the other events that are out there are quite sterile. And, Max and I have created Regenerate, which we don't think is sterile. We think we've got natural light, amazing meals, a good atmosphere, a bit of liveliness, almost like going to a health festival. So, I think, and Max agrees, that we've created something pretty special. And yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing those who can make it join us in Melbourne.
That's a great point, Simon. Thanks for giving your perspective on that. I really agree, and we've looked at previous health events, and they seem. I mean, sterile is a great word. It's like it seems very not really speaking to people. It's speaking to doctors, and it's speaking in a format that's still very much professional and speaking to a kind of health professional context. But we want to help make this something that people without formal health training can engage with and can participate in a way that feels very accessible. And it's part of this greater movement that I think is necessary, and which is what we're both doing in terms of and promoting, which is greater health understanding and empowerment. And through the Regenerative Health podcast, which some of you might listen to, that's a key goal of mine, which is to really allow you and teach you and help you to learn about your own health, so you can be the CEO of you, and no one is going to make you're making health decisions. Everyone is just simply, even doctors, whoever you go and see, if you see naturopaths, if you see physios, everyone is giving you advice. But at the end of the day, you have to make those health decisions for yourself. And the more, in my mind, the more information that we can provide you, and the more accessible that information is around things like diet, light environment, light diet, food diet, and food sourcing, I think the better decision that you can make for your own health and your family's health. So that is that's very, very important to us, and that is another kind of reason why we think Regenerate is such a useful event. The other point I wanted to make, and again, it's about why these three fields, and maybe people can understand, okay, yeah, I had a great benefit from carnivore, but what's to do with the light, or what's to do with the farming? And I think that the reason is because it's not only we're trying to help things on a whole societal type level, and if you get one facet right, that's great. But there's really more to it, and a lot of people, and Simon helps people, really a lot of people, in the How to Carnivore Challenge with Dr. Chafee, and they find immense benefit on excluding all foods for 30 days and only eating meat, and then I help people with circadian health, and this idea that, well, it's one thing to improve our food diet, and people can get 60, 70, 80% of the way there, but for others, their light environment, their light exposures is a critical part of health. And then tying that together with the societal level facet, which is food growth and food production, because anyone who's been to a farm, or been to an industrial farm, or seen the process of industrial farming, you kind of can get an inclination that this isn't a natural process. So tying those three pillars together is our way of giving you, or providing you with the tools to kind of optimize or achieve health in multiple different ways, and to kind of give you the most robust health into the future, and those tools to optimize your longevity and live the healthiest life into the future. So I just wanted to give that background.
So what can you expect if you come along to Regenerate Melbourne? Well, I'll give you guys a sort of a bit of a run sheet on what we've got planned. So the day runs from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We've got 6 speakers. So Dr. Max is speaking, Dr. Anthony Chafee, Dr. Jalal Khan, Dr. Pran Yoganathan, carnivore psychotherapist Natalie West, and the 6th one is regenerative farm, Charlie Arnott. Each person is going to give a brand new speech or presentation that they haven't given before on a topic that they're really interested and passionate about right now, so it will be timely. And they will speak for about half an hour, and then following their talk, we'll have a Q&A. So you'll get the opportunity to have the stimulus come in of their presentation, and then ask these people a question in an open forum. And if Aubrey last year is anything to go by, these Q&As are really insightful, and you get some incredible knowledge out of the presenters. In the middle of the day, there is a 2-hour lunch break. So I don't know if you can think of any seminar or function or conference you've been to with a 2-hour lunch break. Normally they don't do it. But we're doing 2-hour lunch break, a feast of beautiful Australian meat, all prepared in a way that is carnivore, no seasoning, no spices. And that was a real highlight last year. And with 2 hours, the idea is that you will get around and you will chat to people. So you will get around and you will speak to the presenters. You will make friends and connections with the people who you were sitting around and other people who are at the event. This is an opportunity where we're bringing health conscious, farming conscious people from all over Australia together, and this huge melting pot where you'll get to mingle, make friends, swap numbers, whatever you want to do, but it's going to be a really valuable opportunity for you. So the three sort of key points, I suppose, are there's a lot of learning, 6 incredible brand new presentations, followed by Q&As. We're feasting on really high quality Australian grass-fed, grass-finished produce. And the third one is we're connecting with the presenters, but also with each other. And you're going to make, hopefully, connections for life. And if you ever go to an event and you feel awkward eating carnivore or being particular about your dietary needs, you don't need to worry about it at this event. It's very satisfying being able to just go up and eat, quote unquote normal like everybody else, because we're all in it together. Did I miss anything, Max?
No, that's it. And the venue is in North Fitzroy. It's a place called 75 Reed Street, and it's an old building. It's an old brick building that's basically been renovated for auditoriums, for events, for speeches, for weddings. It is an amazing venue, and I was touring it recently, and it's going to be a fantastic day. And everyone is in close. It's not a distant. It's not a kind of event space where people kind of far away from each other on the stage. Everyone is going to be packed in a very, very intimate venue. So you'll be able to see the speakers. You're not going to be far from Dr. Anthony Chafee when he delivers another powerhouse discussion on whatever he decides to speak on. But this is going to be an amazing atmosphere. And I have a feeling that there's going to be some very important and very actionable and very relevant health and lifestyle advice and information given in this location. There's also the Edinburgh Gardens. The park is nearby. So last time in Albury, we had some people taking their shoes off grounding during lunchtime. Definitely encourage that. So it's in a lovely area. It's a great location. So I think a really, really good place to really have this venue.
And Andrew just asked a question. You said, how many numbers can you accommodate? So it can accommodate 300 people and not a person more. So there are 300 tickets available, guys. Which means that it's it's quite an intimate event. And with 306 speakers, you will get access to the speakers. You will get to connect with people, and it will be an incredible communal meal when we break at lunchtime. I wonder, Max, maybe we could do a little bit of a tic-tac, whereby we kind of talk about each of the speakers. We'll just do like a sort of 1 to 2 minute spiel on each one. I'll start off with Natalie. So Natalie West is one of our speakers. She is a carnivore and a psychotherapist, and she's also a good friend of mine. She she spans across the two worlds of nutrition and mental health, and she really hits home the fact that proper nutrition, which includes plenty of nutritious food, but also eliminating alcohol, a lot of toxic plants, and other things that can cause mental health issues. Those two approaches really, really benefit how you feel about yourself and how you see the world. She generally does private consultations that are really in depth with clients. She's fully booked out, and she's a really incredible speaker. I haven't heard anybody bring together the worlds of nutrition and mental health as well as she does. And there isn't enough discussion about mental health. And a lot of, when there is discussion, the thought is you just need to deal with it. There's nothing you can do. Natalie offers a real solution, which is refreshing. And guess what? It's not medication. It's free. You just have to eat healthy, live a natural life, and look after yourself. So I'm really looking forward to hearing Natalie speak.
Yeah, Simon, that's such a great point. I have, in my clinical experience, come across people who've changed their diet for one reason. They've perhaps done a low carb or carnivore specifically for maybe weight loss reasons, and then come back and said to me, I've had troubling and intrusive thoughts for 2 decades, and now that I'm eating this way, my mood has improved out of sight, and my intrusive thoughts have gone away. And it just speaks to this kind of unappreciated point that you're mentioning, and that Natalie and maybe guys like doctors like Chris Palmer, who's released a book on this topic, and Georgia Eid, that what we're eating can have a massive effect on our sense of well-being and our mental health. So that this idea of metabolic psychiatry, or is what it's kind of being called in terms of a new field. It's incredibly exciting, and that is definitely a point that the centralized advice just doesn't include, and no one is routinely getting dietary advice when they come in with anxiety or depression. But what the work of Natalie is implying, and from what I've seen in my clinical practice, is that is absolutely what we should be talking about, because it has such a massive potential for improving people's symptoms and making them feel a whole lot better.
100%. Max, did you want to intro another one of the speakers?
Yeah, I'll talk about Dr. Jalal Khan, and I'm very excited to see Jalal and to speak with him again. So Jalal, for those who follow the Regenerative Health podcast, his podcast was the fourth most downloaded out of close to 50 episodes. So Jalal is a Sydney holistic dentist and a quantum and circadian health practitioner. So Jalal has one of the pioneers bringing this quantum biology and circadian lens to health in Australia. So he has, throughout for the past 4 or 5 years, in addition to working full-time, he has been studying and learning about quantum biology and how to apply that to health. And what he's come up with, or what he's developed, is an incredibly holistic way of thinking about health that is fundamentally based on light, and how light interacts with our biology, how light affects our mitochondrial function. And it's extremely exciting stuff that he talks about. So listen to my podcast with him if you're not aware of his work yet. But he is a very, very intelligent and accessible and very nice guy. So more recently, he's also been working on holistic dentistry and quantum dentistry, which sounds a little bit interesting, but essentially how to influence facial shape, facial development, tongue position, all these critical parts of optimal face structure and breathing, upper airway anatomy, that it seems to be static, but it can actually be changed even later in life. And he's applying that and having massively beneficial effects. So what Jalal offers is this really light-focused approach to health. And even though he is a dentist, he also has a very holistic mindset or holistic perspective. So he is also having and helping people with a range of other problems, medical issues, things like fertility, which are amenable to light therapy and to changing our light environment. Because just like animals in the wild who essentially respond to the changing day length by the light that gets sent through their eye, that influences their fecundity, their ability to, or the propensity to reproduce. Similar things happen with us. And if we're blue light toxic, if we're not having an intact circadian rhythm, and if the signals that go into our eye are wrong or confusing, then that is going to be confusing for our hormonal systems, and things like infertility, polycystic ovary syndrome, even endometriosis can be a result or a downstream effect of a bad light environment. So I'm very excited to hear what Dr. Jalal Khan has to say.
Awesome. Yeah, and to reiterate, he's just a super nice guy. A lot of the technical biology that he goes into definitely goes over my head. But he has some simple messages that I've adopted to do with getting sunlight in your eyes in the morning and minimizing artificial light at night, which have made a huge difference for me. So no matter what kind of scale you're on in terms of the really technical and medical, or if you're more of a sort of layman like myself, you will get a lot out of what Jalal's talking about in his message. And he's very generous with his time. So if you go up and ask him a question, he'll be more than happy to help. I'll do a little intro for Dr. Chafee. So many of you will know Dr. Anthony Chafee. He is a neurosurgical registrar. He's a former professional rugby player, and he's also a long-term carnivore and a massive advocate for the carnivore diet, if not one of the biggest in the world. Dr. Chafee is extremely well-read. He has very thorough arguments that he backs up with hard facts, and he delivers it in an extremely engaging way, as you will know if you've ever watched any of his videos. One thing that I think that people don't realise about Dr. Chafee is that he has a lot of knowledge about carnivore, but he also has a lot of knowledge about history, politics, and economics. He really is like a sponge, and he's developed this really both broad and deep knowledge base, and it's quite incredible when he opens up and he shares this information with you. So I can recommend anybody who is either a fan of Dr. Chafee and wants to meet him in person, or is a carnivore and, say, curious to learn more about him, I recommend they come along, and it extends to bringing friends along that you think might be interested in Dr. Chafee into carnivore, because he's so generous with his time and he's so engaging, and he's such a friendly man that it really is inspiring, and he's a great role model. So, and he doesn't pull any punches. His talk at Last Regenerate was all about how our nutritional guidelines have been corrupted, and he was not afraid to call people out. He says it how it is, and that's really, really engaging and refreshing to see that honesty. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Dr. Chafee produces, and for those that come up, I think he'll really blow you away.
Yeah, that talk was very, very raw.
Yeah.
to say it, and what he came up with and what he processed was a lot of what Belinda Fettke had talked about initially, but his presentation was very hard-hitting, and just the reality of the fact that the dietary guidelines have such deep influence from religious groups like the Seventh-day Adventists. It's something that people need to know about, and it's become second nature that everyone starts their day or for the past 3, 4, 5 decades. You start your day with a bowl of Wheat Bix, you eat oat bar from Uncle Toby's at morning tea, and then you have some more grains for lunch, or sandwich at lunch, and then dinner has a big side of grains. But what Anthony talked about in that speech, and you can watch it and maybe Simon, we can refer people to our growing YouTube page, the Regenerate YouTube page. You can actually watch the historical videos from our Albury conference. But what he emphasizes is that this common practice of eating all these whole grains simply reflects a bias that's introduced by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, who have a religious ideology that makes them insistent that other people, well, they and other people eat a vegetarian and plant-based diet. So really recommend people watch that video if they're scratching their heads after listening to what I just said, or disbelieving me. And please watch that video. Listen to a couple of my podcasts with Belinda Fettke or Matthew Leshak to learn more. So the next person I'll talk about is Dr. Pran Yoganathan. Now, Pran is a gastroenterologist, so he's a doctor of the stomach, of the bowel. He does colonoscopy and gastroscopy, and deals with problems of the gastrointestinal tract. So that makes him an expert on gut health. And unlike many conventional gastroenterologists, he's branched out of simply just doing procedures and writing prescriptions in a way that is very, very much more holistic. So whereas maybe you might have in another situation and with another clinician, you might have just had a scope and got a script for Nexium or a proton pump inhibitor. Dr. Pran has really put the effort in to understand what else is going on, and his clinical practice in Sydney really emphasizes holistic health and dietary low carb type diets as well. So he's really trying to piece the puzzles together to improve people's health holistically. He posts prolifically on Twitter and Instagram, and he's a very big advocate for regenerative farming, because he sees that if we as a society are using herbicides like glyphosate to essentially kill weeds in our paddocks, what effect that is potentially having on human health, and the fact that this herbicide is simply acting like an antibiotic for the soil. That is what glyphosate is doing, and what happens to human health if we ingest food that is inevitably contaminated with glyphosate residue or Roundup, as you might know it, is massive, and it is incredibly injurious and deleterious and harmful to our gut microbiota, which many of you know is an integral part of health. So Pran talks about that. He's a massive advocate for getting back to regenerative systems, getting back to fully organic systems that don't require inputs of toxic chemicals that came off a boat. He's about really promoting this connection between what we eat and how it's grown and human health. So Pran has also got some very interesting philosophical takes, and if you follow him on Instagram and Twitter, you'll be provoked into thinking what is going on, and he gives a very unique perspective. I think one of his tweets to her when we announced the event was that he will show you the way out of the Plato's cave, but obviously he can't drag you there. But what that basically means is it's his job to simply show you another way or open the door, so to speak. And it's obviously up to each and every one of us to walk through that door. And basically a metaphor for once you have the information, it's up to us to do something with that information. But I believe that's the best type of teacher, which is not someone who pushes anything on you or forces anyone to change, but simply presents options, presents information, and lets you, as the individual, the CEO of you, make a decision about how you want to live your life. So extremely excited to hear Pran, what he's going to say, and deliver another very, very interesting talk at this conference.
Yeah, I think you nailed that, Max. The only thing that I would add is that he's totally fearless And Pran, like the other speakers, has really put his career and his medical license on the line by speaking the truth. And he's been called out by his peers over and over again. People saying that he doesn't know what he's on about. He's making a big deal out of nothing, calling him names or what have you. And Pran has definitely stood his ground, and just kept us feeling the truth, which is very, very admirable. The next speaker, who I'll do a little intro for, is regenerative farmer Charlie Arnott. If you're not following him, jump onto Instagram and search Charlie Arnott. Charlie started out life as a traditional chemical farmer. So his approach was maximum chemical and fertilizer in to try and get the biggest yield possible out of this farm. And that sort of broke him down after a while. He started to wonder, what's all this for? Is it just to sort of drag more out of the soil every year? There has to be more to it. And without sort of telling his story, I'll sort of give you a bit of an insight. It was during a really severe drought in Australia that he saw this course was on sale. It was called Profiting from the Drought. And he said, "Oh, that sounds like a joke. That's got to be a laugh. But I'm not doing anything, so I'll just go along to it." And he went along to this seminar, Profiting from the Drought, and he learned about rotational grazing, regenerative farming, and how you can really care for the land and actually get an incredible output from while making it more robust and more resilient and more fertile. And that completely changed Charlie's world. And then he went down this regenerative farming rabbit hole, and he is now what many would call the godfather of regenerative farming in Australia. He seems to know everybody in the space. He has an incredible podcast called The Regenerative Journey. And Charlie speaks on a range of topics, from the environment, from regenerative farming to raising kids in a modern world. He has a sort of a relaxed and friendly and approachable way about him, while at the same time he's very curious. And he teaches an incredible course which is all about biodynamics, which I've actually done out of his farm in Western New South Wales. And he is an incredible teacher, very engaging, and somebody that, for anyone who's a bit interested in farming or where their food's coming from, the opportunity to meet Charlie, see him talk in person, and immerse yourself in his world is something that I highly recommend. So it's certainly somebody to come along to.
The analogy is incredibly interesting, which is just like doctors and just like farmers, we kind of both have to challenge the structure or the intellectual and educational framework that we got educated in to really get to a solution that doesn't involve chemical.
Right.
And in that way, Charlie has done the same as what a lot of doctors had, which is realised that there's a way that we can promote the system of the health holistically without simply just throwing a chemical into the mix. And his journey of essentially weaning himself off these monocropped methods and adding a whole bunch of fertilizer and herbicide into his growing mix, and moving past that model into biodynamic, holistic, regenerative practices. It's very interesting. It's very similar to what a lot of doctors have to do, or eventually do, when they have a health problem, or when they have something that prompts them to think about or challenge the way that they've been taught and the way that they've been doing something. So yes, Charlie's a great guy. I'm really looking forward as well to what he has to say. So and then I guess I'm the final speaker, and there's a lot that I have been thinking about what I'll talk about for this event, but I think that what people are interested in and what everyone kind of needs to hear at this point is a story about light and how that is impacting health. And I think that artificial light at night and this idea of everyone's exposed to lights that exist that after dark that we would never have previously been exposed to. This is a major health problem that no one or very few people are giving adequate airtime to. So I think I will be discussing how that affects our biology and how that affects things like obesity, things like diabetes, and this idea that you can be prevented from losing weight by your light environment. You can become fat just by the light that you're sitting under. And it seems almost a radical or kind of improbable idea that simply light can make someone fat. But when we understand things like the natural sunlight spectrum and what I like to call your light diet, which is it should be a nutritious, balanced light diet. But what I mean by that is there should be ultraviolet, there should be visible, and there should be infrared light, which is what we naturally get from the sun. But what the reality is that most people are simply under artificial light all day, and that is a massive problem. So the LED lighting, the compact fluorescent lighting lamps, they emit visible only light, and nowhere in history of our species were we exposed to visible only light. So it's both basically both a nutrient deficient light diet and it's got a junk light because the blue that we get from the sun is always balanced. It's always present with some red. It's present with infrared. So what we're doing to ourselves when we go into work and turn on the artificial lights and sit in front of a computer all day is fundamentally harmful. And I've been in the last clinical practice I was in, the administration staff were sitting in the middle of the building, and we doctors were around the perimeter. So at least we had some, albeit filtered light through glass. But the poor admin staff were in the middle of the building, and there was no windows at all, and they're just sitting under artificial light all day and cooking essentially in this very, very profoundly toxic light environment. So what that can lead to is a disruption of all our hormonal axes, and it doesn't happen overnight. And it's the same as kind of eating, if you eat one dish of food deep fried in canola oil, not going to kill you. But if you do it day in, day out for 20 years, it's no wonder in my mind that chronic diseases arise. And things like breast cancer, so the epithelial cancers, breast, prostate, bowel, lung, have a very, very clear epidemiological link to artificial light at night and disrupted circadian rhythms. And won't go into the exact mechanisms or reasons why, but it's an established scientific fact that, again, people aren't really realizing. And unfortunately, when new buildings are being built, when hospitals are being built, when childcare centers and schools are being built, no one is considering the fact that we have these deeply fundamental needs when it comes to our light environment that are not being met. And what we're dealing with in terms of children's behavioral issues, and maybe even problems with dementia and care resident and homes with behavior, and how much of it could be fixed by giving people back what they needed, which was infrared light during the day and darkness or absence of light at night. So that's something that I am passionate about. That's what I've been focusing on recently with my recent podcasts. So I'm excited to be talking about that at the Regenerate conference. So if anyone has any questions or would like to make any comments, then I will address them now. Otherwise, head over to the website, which is www.regenerateoz.com, and you can buy your tickets. I'm also going to include a link to the YouTube. We're going to add the link to our growing YouTube page where you can view the previous year's recordings. So if there's no more questions, then thank you everyone for tuning in to this live Q&A. and this Regenerate preview. And I hope Summer and I will hope to see you there on April the 21st in Melbourne, Fitzroy, Melbourne. So thank you very much. Have a great evening.